Hello and thanks for checking out TheChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hello everyone, hope you're having a great Saturday. So I am currently in an Airbnb, and unfortunately due to some miscommunication, the internet here is pretty spotty, and I'm not going to be able to do live streams for the next week or so until this coming weekend where everything will be back to normal. But maybe that's a good thing where I can get a break on my voice for the first time in 3 years. So as far as uploading videos, that will be a little bit different in the sense that I'm going to have to record the videos and then drive into town to get enough internet to upload them. So they will be a little bit more delayed in the sense that, once they're uploaded, it will probably be from a half hour prior that I recorded them. But I'll focus more on longer term patterns for that sake. I'm not going to look at a 15-minute pattern that's going to break by the time the upload gets through. So that's, again, just for the next week or so, and we'll continue to adapt and work with it. So what I'm looking at is the weekly timeframes to start it out, the bigger picture, and then we'll zoom in. And of course, we've been talking about this weekly equilibrium setting up for quite some time. After the initial bull break on the daily time frame of the equilibrium, which ended up as an inside bar bull break on the weekly, my initial target, visually speaking, was upper 8,000 to 9,000, looking for that lower high. And that was just visually looking at this chart and saying, okay, if we're going to see a move to the middle of the tightening range and to see a lower high being set, I'm looking at that $9,000 level as this potential target. So because that target has been hit, I am now all cash, and I am very patient and waiting. Even if we see a bull break from here, I know upside is limited, and I know that we're going to have to wait for this longer-term weekly equilibrium pattern to break sometime, in my opinion, late May, early June, to give us a lot of clarity. Obviously, news can change that time frame, but when this break occurs, it is, in my opinion, going to dictate momentum for the rest of the year of 2018. We're either going to be heading back to all-time highs, or we're going to drop down to lower lows in the $4,000 range. So it's a very important pattern to be watching. And the very interesting thing is the same exact weekly pattern is occurring on the S&P 500 and WEED, which is our benchmark for the MJ sector. So pretty much my main sectors that I trade, everybody is doing the same thing on the weekly time frame. And we're at a point where they're pretty much all tightening up at the same point. So let's just compare real quick. Obviously, with Bitcoin, we got our high, low, lower high, higher low, and we're looking for our lower high. Look at the S&P 500, and this is the gauge of stocks. High, low, the same low was the same week as Bitcoin. Lower high, higher low. SPY formed, the S&P 500 formed a lower high this past week. So that adds to the potential that I feel we're going to pull back on Bitcoin a bit, consolidate, give us a weekly upper wick to a certain degree on this weekly candlestick, and look for some healthy consolidation. So I am looking for the S&P 500 to break this equilibrium pattern on the weekly time frame sometime, same thing, end of May, early June, and we're looking for Bitcoin to do the same thing. And I will be looking at it as a potential leader laggard scenario. If Bitcoin breaks first, I'll be looking for the S&P 500 to break the same direction. And I have said in the past that there's no correlation between Bitcoin and the S&P 500, and that was my mistake in terms of being too zoomed in with a magnifying glass. So I'm watching day trading. I'm watching the 5-minute, the hourly, the 4-hour. If you zoom way out the weekly chart, there is no doubt that there is absolutely long-term correlation, and it's skewed a little bit on the shorter-term time frames because we have extra trading days on Bitcoin that we don't have on the S&P 500. So Bitcoin's more drawn out on this equilibrium pattern. SPY is quicker and more choppy, and there's less days in trading for SPY's pattern than there is in Bitcoin. But the bottom line is the break of these weekly equilibrium patterns are going to be significant and going to give us a lot of information this summer. So I'm looking for the lower high to be set on Bitcoin. We are not confident that the lower high on the weekly time frame is set until we lose the daily higher low pattern. And where we stand right now, we need to form a new daily higher low. We have an indecision candlestick forming, which is bearish because it's coming after a bull move. So it's an indecision shooting star. Doesn't mean it's actually a spinning top. Spinning top bearish reversal candlestick doesn't mean we have to pull back from here. We could absolutely negate it, but it means caution. And for me, it means go to cash and patiently wait, just like I did back here. I went to cash. I waited for the consolidation. I re-entered when the bulls showed me that a bull flag on the daily time frame was likely. I'm back to all cash. I'm going to see what consolidation looks like and going to play it one day at a time. So what I'm looking for right now, posted on TradingView. By the way, thanks everybody for TradingView. Brought us to the #1 account post on yesterday and today. So really appreciate that. We're the chart guys on TradingView. I post the big three charts every morning on weekdays. And this morning I posted on the hourly chart that we're looking for a lower high. So it was after the dump. And as we started to bounce, I said, look for an hourly equilibrium. And that's exactly what we have here with our high, low, lower high, higher low, lower high. And we're close to a bear break right now. I like looking at it on the 15-minute time frame for more detail. And I favor a bear break because I do feel that this daily chart is going to get some more consolidation. So if I were drawing this out, I would say high, low, lower high, higher low, lower high. And we're either going to see a higher low here before breaking 8,740, or we're going to break 8,740, and that's going to be a clear bear break that's going to tell us more prolonged 4-hour consolidation is coming, which is going to translate to daily consolidation, where we look for a higher low. On the daily chart, anything above 7,822 is a higher low, keeping the uptrend intact. In my opinion, for us to be confident that a lower high is being set on the weekly time frame, like SPY, and to continue tightening this pattern, that means we're going to have to pull back, form a higher low, still keeping the uptrend intact, then be unable to break the top of this current bull move of 9,039 and then drop back down. So it's going to require a higher low, lower high, lower low in order for the weekly lower high to be set and for us to be confident that that is how it's following through. So that's not going to happen anytime soon. That's going to take multiple days to play out at the earliest. And I wouldn't be surprised perhaps a little FOMO to hit, not a FOMO, a FUD article to hit to help these bears knock the price down a little bit. So on this initial consolidation, not looking for any kind of huge dump and just looking for a higher low on the daily. So there was a nice opportunity on this bounce, the 15-minute time frame. As we know, when the RSIs after a bull move get oversold for the first time, usually it's on the 5-minute time frame. Sometimes it takes to the 15-minute to really get going. But there's a nice trade there, and we can see this bounce that played out from 8,600, and we went all the way up to 8,872. So again, just remember that. That's a nice little rule of thumb, where if you're coming off of a solid bull move, which obviously Bitcoin has been on, the first pullback where you hit 5-minute RSI oversold or 15-minute RSI oversold, ideally both, that's when you usually get a pretty solid bounce, and there's a trade to be had there as a bull, just as a quick flip, looking for that equilibrium setup to form. So that's what we're watching on Bitcoin. Ethereum, pretty similar. Daily time frame, a nice long lower wick, but you could call this a bearish reversal hanging man candlestick. The bottom line is we're looking for a higher low to maintain the daily uptrend compared to the previous low of 498. Might as well call it right around 500 psychological. Anything above 500 is another higher low. And looking at the 4-hour time frame, healthy consolidation underway so far, and we have a bit of an hourly equilibrium pattern, a little bit of a different shape. It's going to break bearish on Bitcoin. If it does break bearish, it'll break bearish on Bitcoin much sooner than Ethereum, and that's been the correlation between the two for the last few weeks, where we see Bitcoin, we see favor of the Ethereum bulls comparative to Bitcoin. So we see bear breaks on Bitcoin, and the bear breaks on Ethereum are not as bearish. We see bull breaks on Bitcoin, and the bull moves on Ethereum are more bullish. So we have our high of this bull move. We have our low of the pullback. Here's our lower high, and we're going to be looking for the Ethereum bulls to form a higher low here compared to 572. It's a more drawn out, longer term equilibrium pattern on this hourly chart to be watching for Ethereum. And this hourly equilibrium, I don't anticipate it going to break until early, let's see, it's 4:38 p.m. Eastern. I'm talking 12 hours perhaps from now. We'll be looking for this hourly equilibrium break unless we see a lot of bear momentum on a Bitcoin break that picks up momentum in the other names as well. So really this wouldn't be what I'm now, honestly, the look of the Ethereum's daily chart or hourly chart is shifting my perception on the Bitcoin chart. So yes, it would be a bear break if we drop 8,740 support, but it's not a break of this equilibrium. I'm looking at the high, low, lower high, and there's a tight little mini pattern in here, but if we break this level, we can still form a higher low compared to 8,610, and that's the setup that Ethereum's currently in. So even if we break this tight range, it's not a clear bear break of the equilibrium. So that's going to give me a bit more leniency on the Bitcoin setup to say, all right, even if Bitcoin breaks this support, yes, that's going to favor the odds of a bear break more on this hourly equilibrium, but it is not a break of this hourly equilibrium bearish just yet. So that shifts my perception. Litecoin on the weekly time frame. So we have essentially the double bottom, but it's an equilibrium pattern there as well. You could call it the setup of a descending triangle pattern with that horizontal base, but it's high, low, lower high, higher low, almost a double bottom. And now we're looking for the lower high potentially being set at 157. Again, in order for this to be set and in order for us to be confident it's the weekly lower high, we have to lose the daily uptrend. And right now, the daily uptrend is not going to be lost anytime soon because the last support level established was down here at 125. So same thing, we're going to look for a higher low on the daily compared to 125. And in order for the weekly lower high to be in, we're going to have to pull back, form the daily higher low, lower high, lower low to continue dropping down. Ideal scenario for the bulls is the same thing that we saw last time, where we had a couple days of healthy consolidation, which ended up being bull flags for a lot of names, and then we saw continuation. That's the ideal scenario for the bulls. I would be surprised to see it happen in this range, but again, that would shift the equilibrium pattern more likely to be a bull break in May or June if that were to play out. So looking at the 4-hour chart for Litecoin, it had the most significant pullback. That's not surprising. We know Litecoin has been the bearish correlation to Bitcoin in the sense that initially the bounce on Bitcoin, Litecoin was lagging, and now on any pullback on Bitcoin, it looks like Litecoin's magnifying it to a degree, and easily the biggest pullback so far from the high of this move. But we have a lot of space in here for this equilibrium pattern to play out with our high, which ended up essentially being a double top. Then we have our low, lower high, and now we're looking for a higher low anywhere above 140.74. And again, just visually, Litecoin, seeing this clear hourly equilibrium, it again makes me go back to Bitcoin and say, all right, this is a bear break, absolutely, but we are still in an hourly equilibrium pattern, in my opinion. So the break of the hourly equilibrium pattern is going to dictate momentum for tomorrow, which is Sunday. And let's check where BCH is at. BCH weekly time frame is going to set a lower high pretty much no matter what, because anything under 1,644 is a lower high. That was the high of our last bounce attempt. So we're scouting for our lower high, and again, have to lose the daily higher lows to be confident that our weekly higher low, or excuse me, our weekly lower high is forming. Right now, we're forming a bearish reversal spinning top candlestick, showing indecision, and indecision always favors the opposing direction. Indecision after a dump favors the bulls. Indecision after a bull break favors the bears because it just shows a slow in momentum. So what we have here, same hourly equilibrium pattern, I assume. I haven't even looked at the chart, and I am wrong in that assumption. So bull break here occurred, and the reason for this bull break is the lack of liquidity. It is the easiest to move BCH out of any of these names with a little bit of money going a long way, and we broke to a higher high here, which no other names did. So we are not in an hourly equilibrium pattern like these other names, and we have our higher low, our higher high definitely favors the bulls a bit more. So here's our support, 115, 1015. Anything above that level forms another higher low, and the uptrend is still intact. The correlation to Bitcoin is still certainly there, but again, a slight bull favor on this correlation due to the nice solid bull volume and the bull move through that resistance. So where Litecoin formed that double top, we had a bull break here on BCH. So definitely a bit more bullish overall, but is likely going to follow the same fate in the sense that if Bitcoin breaks this longer term hourly equilibrium bearish, we're going to be looking for BCH to be dropping down and breaking this 1015 support as well. So that's where we currently stand. It's a nice setup to be watching. And the good news about the Airbnb that I'm currently on is there's plenty of animals. So I'm going to be doing some videos and going to attach some here at the end. We got donkeys, horses, goats, chickens, and some koi fish in some pretty beautiful ponds. So I appreciate you all watching. I hope you have a good rest of your weekend, and all eyes are on this hourly equilibrium, which again could play out for another dozen hours or so, as there's a lot of space in these ranges. I am currently all cash. What I did yesterday is set my stop loss on the loss of the hourly higher lows on Bitcoin. So I had half a position on Bitcoin left, got a nice bull break. This ended up being a bit of a short squeeze. And keep in mind FOMO. So FOMO is the opposite of fear. And as we know, when we have volume climaxes on dumps and the climax of fear, we get really solid bounces. It happens in the opposing direction as well. We get bull breaks, we get short squeezes, and we get people rushing in thinking they're going to miss the boat. And that's a climax signal as well to be watching out for. And that's really what happened, where we saw such a significant big-time candlestick burst. And it looks like the bulls used up all their buying power to break 9,000 psychological, and that's where we turn things around very quickly. So I was stopped out on the higher lows. I stopped out at 8,800, back to all cash, patiently waiting for the next trade to come to me. And there are definitely bearish opportunities in here as well, especially if we break this equilibrium pattern bearish. I appreciate you watching. We'll be back in tune tomorrow. Thanks for bearing with us with a little bit of a delay in the uploads, and we'll see you soon. Do good things.